Hey guys, welcome back to Bombchu. I'm Austin and today we'll be looking at the monthly bundle from March 2018. This month we have the standard 7 Steam games along with the humble original title. We have a lot to cover, so let's get to it. I'll be giving my first impressions of each game and determining if they're games I'd like to continue playing. This month's humble original is Drawkanoid, a twist on Arkanoid and Breakout. Like those games, you hit a ball with a paddle from the bottom of the screen and use it to break blocks. Here, you need to break specific blocks to make a boss appear, and then hit the boss. The twist here comes from the fact that you don't move your paddle left and right. Instead, you draw your paddle on the fly. You can place it wherever you like within the bottom portion of the screen, and at whatever angle you like. This allows you to set up some pretty cool moments a lot more easily. The ball also moves at super speed, but it slows down immensely when it enters your part of the field, giving you plenty of time to react. As you play, you'll earn money, which you can use in the shop to buy upgrades. Brick breakers aren't exactly part of a very original genre, but this puts an interesting enough spin on it to be worth a try. Holy potatoes, we're in space wow, it's a lot of things. You manage a ship and its crew, which is made up of potatoes and vegetables. You assign your crew to work on things in different rooms like crafting weapons or manning battle stations, and you spend money to add additional rooms which serve different purposes. There's a lot of different resources to keep track of, and as you travel through space, you'll have to explore planets to try and get more money and resources. During your exploration, random events will happen that you can choose to engage in or not, yielding some positive or negative effect. And of course, you'll run into bad guys to fight. Fights are handled with a turn-based combat system that has some interesting depth to it. Each turn you gain a certain amount of charge, and each weapon you have takes a certain amount of charge to be used, so you can fire as many of your weapons each turn as you want, so long as you have enough charge for it. Weapons all behave differently, some penetrating shields, some attacking all targets, etc. Strategy will come down to what weapons you have and how the enemy ship is set up. If they have a really weak hull, you can just blast them away pretty quick, but if they have some strong weapons and it'll take some time to break down their hull, you may want to destroy their weaponry first. Enemies can do the same to you, but you have a shield system which you can use to shield your hull or any one of your weapons at any time. There is a lot going on here, and it's a bit overwhelming, but it's certainly fun, especially if you like to strategize. Daedalic puts their usual brand of quirky humor in here, which just doesn't connect with me, but at least the gameplay is solid. Now what the hell should I have my crew do? What? Snowflakes? Snowflakes? Overgrowth is an action game with a focus on speed and mobility. Similar to last month's extra surprise early unlock, Overgrowth was in development for 9 years, though unlike Owlboy, Overgrowth was available on Steam Early Access back in 2013. After 9 years, how did it turn out? Well, a little unpolished to be honest. Starting with the good, you move very fast and you can jump really far, both of which make traversal a joy. Combat is interesting, as rather than pressing buttons, you hold down buttons to keep yourself in a mode. Like if you hold down the attack button, then when you approach an enemy, you'll attack them when you get close enough. The attack you do is based on how you approach that enemy, adding some interesting style to combat. However, pretty quickly I got very frustrated with the game's first boss. He attacks very fast, you get no invincibility frames, and there's lots of stuff around to trap you when you're walking backwards. When I eventually killed him, it was by accident, and I didn't feel I had learned anything. The engine also feels dated, with visuals being nothing to write home about, yet still having stuttering. When loading a level, which happens often because levels are really short, music will play during the load screen, and then there's this jagged pause before you can continue to the level. The game is single player only, and apparently the story is only about 3 hours long. I'm not sure what took 9 years to get this game out, or how anyone could feel good paying $30 to get this game full price. But I guess it's fine for a humble game if you can get a hang of the combat. The fighting system just seems ripe for multiplayer, or with such great movement, imagine having levels built for racing. I may try to get a bit further into the story to see if it can hook me, but I'm not in love with this one so far. Lost Castle is a side-scrolling beat-em-up RPG roguelike. You make your way through the dungeons, picking up items and equipment along the way to make you stronger, and when you almost inevitably die, you'll get to spend some of the points you earn to get permanent upgrades. The levels and enemies will end up being randomized each time. You can't fully prepare yourself for what's ahead, but you learn and get a little stronger each time. It's a bit like Castle Crashers mixed with Rogue Legacy, though a bit simpler than both of those. There's not a great deal of upgrade options to pick from like there is in Rogue Legacy, and combat never feels quite as exciting as Castle Crashers, but it still works. It even has 4-player co-op, which I will absolutely be trying with friends. Dark Souls 3 is the final game in the Dark Souls series. If you aren't familiar with the series, it's a dark action RPG filled with traps and enemies that can very quickly kill you if you aren't constantly on your toes. You don't need to have played the other games in the series to enjoy this one, and in fact, I'd say this is the best entry point to the series. Dark Souls 1 has great lore and an intricately connected world, but until we see what gets updated in the upcoming remaster, a lot of it hasn't aged well, both visually and mechanically. Dark Souls 2 made some improvements, but overall, it was a weaker game than the first. Dark Souls 3 is an excellent return to form, with really strong visuals and combat, and some wonderful environment and enemy designs. If you're having trouble, you can once again summon other players to help you, or allow yourself to be summoned so you can earn some souls and embers without the risk. Multiplayer is now easier than ever, as From Software added a password system so you can match up with just your friends if you want to. And if you're outside each other's level range, the game will just scale down the more powerful player. And of course, it wouldn't be Dark Souls without invaders, players who enter your world every now and then with the goal of killing you. Covenants are really interesting this time around, with several that I found myself wanting to be a part of. The only thing that had me kind of miffed was that Bandai Namco opted not to include the other DLC expansion. The game and Season Pass together have been on sale in the past for under $30, and we've had more expensive games than that headline pass bundles, but I guess Dark Souls 3 was only included in the first place to encourage people to buy the DLC. Regardless, this is an excellent game, and if you don't mind some difficulty in your games, give it a go. Unfortunately, Dark Souls 3 was region locked in some countries. People in those countries instead got Civilization Beyond Earth. A Sid Meier game! Aw. That's right, get the f*** out of my house. Unfortunately, I don't have this game, so I can't provide my thoughts on it. Steam reviews are mixed, with many of the positive reviews seeing it as an interesting twist on Civilization, and many of the negative ones seeing it as failing to succeed Alpha Centauri. That's about all the guidance I can give without a copy of the game. Splasher is a 2D platformer where you can change the properties of surfaces with paint. There's an emphasis on speed here, though you aren't forced to play fast. The way your character handles has a very Super Meat Boy feel to it, which is a major plus. You can run, jump, and shoot your paint gun. Red paint has been used the most so far, and it allows you to cling to surfaces, which allows you to go running up and across walls and ceilings. Orange paint makes you bounce when you touch it, allowing you to get a lot more height or distance than your natural jump. Water cleans off paint from any normal surface, and can also be used to kill enemies. In each level, there are 7 workers to rescue. These are somewhat optional, as you don't need them to finish the level, but unlocking additional levels is tied to how many workers you've rescued overall. They generally aren't hard to find, but some can be in precarious positions. If you're not careful, you can end up killing them. Enemies and other objectives all give you points, and if you get 700 by the end of the level, you can free the last worker. I like this one a lot. Movement feels good, and I really like the paint gun. The visuals are bright and colorful, the music is solid, and everything here just lines up for me. I'll definitely play more. Aviary Attorney is essentially Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney set in 19th century Europe with animals instead of people. Some story events play out, and once you take on a case, you have to go around town questioning people and looking for evidence. Along the way, you can make choices that won't all have immediately noticeable effects, but that may show up down the line. Once the trial day arrives, you have to listen to testimony and cross-examine witnesses to press them on points that don't fully add up, utilizing evidence to prove your own point. Succeeding gains favor with the jury, while failing to prove a point starts to turn them away from your side. The Ace Attorney games are really incredible, and there's not much out there that's like them, so having something copy a lot of what makes that series great, and using new characters and stories, and especially having it on PC, I'm all for it. The story is also darker and comes with some serious twists here that really made my jaw drop. I was worried I wouldn't be able to get past the aesthetic, but the old storybook style visuals grew on me very quickly. I will absolutely continue this one. Last Day of June is a story-focused adventure game in which you play as a man trying to change the events of the past that led up to the death of his wife. She was a painter, and when you wake up one night, the paintings all go blank, but the painting of her, which allows you to remember how she passed. The other paintings are of your neighbors who were around that day, so you leave your house to find where the paintings went. Interacting with one takes you back to that day and allows you to take control of that neighbor. If you take the suggested path, everything plays out normally and your wife dies. But you can rewind and try doing things differently until you manage to change the way things go. This game gets off to a slow start, and there are some flaws to it, but the longer I played, the more I wanted to press on. The idea of changing the past and getting back a lost loved one is irresistible, even if it's likely too good to be true. If you aren't a fan of interactive experiences or walking simulators, this game won't likely change your mind, but if you're in for an emotional narrative, give this one a go. So overall, how was this bundle? At a quick glance, I didn't expect to like any of these games beyond Dark Souls and Drawkanoid, but I was surprised to find that I actually really liked almost everything here. There were a good number of games I'd never heard of here, and probably never would have thought to try if I took a glance at them on Steam. There's a really nice variety of genres here as well, and every game in the bundle is rated very positive on Steam, except for Overgrowth, which stands at a mostly positive, so there's really no questionable picks here. So how much bang for your buck was there? To total everything up, getting all these at full price would cost a sizable $180. Getting all these at their lowest sale price would rack up a cost of around $86. Pretty excellent value either way. This was a pretty solid bundle. I wasn't head over heels, but I was far from disappointed. Next month's bundle is breaking out the big guns with Deus Ex Mankind Divided, God Eater 2 Rage Burst, and Mafia 3. I can't wait to see what else is in there. Catch you next time.